case study I've chosen because I think it really, really exhibits the application of segmentation, combining it with qualitative research, and I think that it has a slightly different dimension for having that qualitative research combined with it. So the West Gippsland Catchment Management Authority came to us with quite a large-scale research project. The Catchment Management Authority, or CMA, wanted to know more about the people who lived and worked to manage resources in their area, which extends from roughly Wonthaggi through to Burnsdale and Sale, so it's a pretty large area. And the CMA had already decided that they wanted a segmentation done of landholders. So they knew that there were a variety of attitudes amongst landholders about natural resource management, but they also knew that it wasn't as if all dairy farmers or beef farmers thought in the same way about natural resource management issues. It wasn't as if you could easily segment the landholders in terms of that sort of demographic information. And ultimately, the CMA wanted us to take the results of the segmentation and create a guide to engagement that would help refine communication messages and delivery to best suit the individual segments. Prior to the quantitative data collection, we did a workshop with the West Gippsland CMA staff to discuss the issues and hot topics with regards to natural resource management. And we also conducted quite a number of discussion groups with landholders and town residents in the area as well. And this allowed us to build a picture of the mindsets that existed in the community and fed into designing the questionnaire. So this pretty new age pie chart shows the distribution of the segments that were discovered through the process. So the segmentation revealed 4 groups, and they were differentiated on attitudes and reported behaviours. And after a lot of analysis, a lot of talking amongst the project team at Ipsos, a lot of talking to the client side team at the CMA, we came up with names. So these are just designed to give you a little sort of short overview of the sorts of people in each segment. It's very simplified in terms of name. So we had the engaged but tentative accounting for approximately a third of landholders, the pragmatic progressives accounting for about a quarter, confident self-believers accounting for 14%, and the disengaged and disinterested accounting for 29%. So the next step was to conduct further qualitative research in order to more fully understand the engagement and communications preferences within the segments. And this combination of the qualitative and the quantitative research, along with the segmentation, revealed a really comprehensive profile of each segment. And we found, I'll just give you a quick overview because it's quite interesting. The confident self-believers were unlikely to respond to environmental messaging. Rather, they preferred productivity messages. These are more powerful in terms of natural resource management messages. This group were found to be quite pioneering farmers, with a preference to sort of casually learn from their peers and to try things out for themselves before they took things on in full. They also had less interest in more formal communications. The tentative, engaged but tentative segment were found to have quite a keen interest in learning about natural resource management, and attitudinally they were the most pro-environmental of all the segments. But usually not so experienced farmers hadn't necessarily been on the land for such a long time. And also, I think we found a great number of hobby farmers within this segment too. They preferred communications based on environmental outcomes with lots of interactive learning. The pragmatic progressives were found to be very experienced and realistic farmers, as you might expect, and early adopters of new techniques. And this group were more receptive to integrated learning opportunities to do with natural resource management, and they were quite pro-environmental attitudinally as well. And the 4th segment, disinterested and disengaged, were just that really. They were found to believe care for the environment is not their responsibility, and they were usually quite old school in their approach to farming and had often been on the land quite a long time and were far more concerned about the future of the land in terms of community and their families rather than natural resource management and productivity. So, what I have up here is the sort of the end result, a very simplified version of the end result, and this is a version of the guide to engagement that we produced. And I don't want you to get too worried about the stuff in the white boxes, but what I want you to realise is that we've got the 4 segments going across the top there, and then down the side we've got messaging, techniques and channels. So I suppose what I'm trying to show you here is that you can take all that information about the attitudes and behaviours and information about communications and learning preferences, and you can turn them into quite a structured guide, which is quite usable. We also produced a quick reference guide that gave the West Gippsland CMA staff about 5 or so questions that they could ask a landholder who they hadn't met before, that would try and help them sort of suss out roughly which segment they fell into. And that was their sort of usable thing on the ground. And some of you might recognise the International Association for Public Participation spectrum terms in the dark grey box across there. And we use IAP2 principles with a lot of our research anyway, but this was a really useful way of giving a bit of context about engagement.